It happened on an ordinary bright morning, when sunlight spilled through the tall glass windows of Astron Innovations, casting long reflections across the polished floors. The building buzzed softly with the footsteps of executives arriving early, their minds occupied with strategies, deadlines, and decisions worth millions. Yet in that sleek corporate world, far from the gleam of tailored suits and confident strides, a single father named Marcellus Reeve pushed a mop across the lobby floor with slow, tired motions. His back ached. His shoes were worn, and his eyes carried the weight of responsibilities heavier than most people would ever know. All it took was one moment, one unexpected glance upward, one unexpected connection, for everything to begin changing. But no one could have predicted that the quiet janitor mopping the floors would soon shake the entire building simply by opening his mouth. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unseen potential, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Spark. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Marcellus had been working at Astron Innovations for 8 months, taking the 6 a.m. shift so he could pick up his daughter from school every afternoon. He was 38, wiry, and visibly exhausted most days, but always polite, always quiet. People passed him without noticing anything except the uniform he wore. They didn't know that before life became a storm, he had studied international business, dreamed of working abroad, and could speak 3 languages, dreams and skills now buried beneath the daily grind. One look at his life today, and no one would have guessed what he once aspired to be. No one except his daughter, little Seraphine, who believed he could still become something more. Their tiny apartment was chaotic in the mornings, with sunlight pouring in through cracked blinds and the smell of cheap instant coffee in the air. Seraphine, 9 years old with a frizzy ponytail and bright eyes full of hope, watched her father pack his old lunchbox with whatever leftovers they had. She never complained even when money was tight, even when things were hard. She always hugged him before he left, reminding him with a whisper that he was her hero. And every morning, as he walked to the bus stop in the daylight warmth, Marcellus repeated the same promise silently to himself, that someday he would give her a life better than this. At Astron, the tension had been growing. A new CEO had arrived from Japan, a reserved, brilliant woman named CEO Riona. Her reputation was legendary. She was known for transforming struggling divisions into global powerhouses. Yet she had arrived at Astron in silence, observing quietly, rarely speaking, and never revealing more than a polite nod or brief instructions to top executives. Some employees whispered theories that she didn't trust anyone. Others said she simply didn't want to waste time with people who had nothing valuable to say. The truth was far more complex, but no one knew it. Marcellus didn't know much about her either. He only knew she walked fast, spoke little, and always seemed locked inside her thoughts. He observed her from afar while pushing his mop or wiping down the spotless railings, watching how the sunlight refracted off the silver pin she always wore on her lapel. She seemed lonely in a way he couldn't explain, lonely even in a crowd of admirers and high-ranking executives. On the morning that changed everything, the lobby was filled with executives preparing for the quarterly review briefing. There was an air of nervous anticipation because CEO Riona rarely spoke publicly, and today she was expected to unveil her strategic direction for the company. Workers rushed around, adjusting screens, moving chairs, and tapping anxiously on tablets. Marcellus continued mopping the floor near the main entrance, unnoticed as usual. He heard hurried whispers near the reception desk. One of the executives, Mr. Halburn, complained loudly about something gone wrong with the translation device that was supposed to streamline CEO Riona's speech. She preferred speaking in Japanese when discussing complex strategic details, and the device had malfunctioned. Panic was rising because no translator had been booked for the day. People scattered in all directions trying to find a solution, but it was clear that the situation was falling apart. Marcellus kept his head down, but inside something stirred. He remembered his university days, late nights studying kanji, long hours practicing pronunciation, the pride he once felt learning the language. He hadn't spoken Japanese in years, but he hadn't forgotten it. He hesitated, unsure if he should offer help. He was a janitor now. People might laugh, or worse, think he was stepping out of line. Minutes later, CEO Riona herself arrived. She was dressed in a light grey suit, her dark hair neatly tied back, moving with her usual calm precision. But today, a flicker of displeasure crossed her eyes as she realized the device wasn't working. The room fell into a thick silence. Executives shifted, unsure how to salvage the situation. Riona looked at the malfunctioning device, then at her staff, and her expression tightened with quiet frustration. In that silence, something inside Marcellus decided. He stepped forward slowly, leaving his mop standing upright. People turned to look, some frowning at the sight of the janitor approaching at a moment so critical. Halburn whispered to another executive, clearly irritated that a low-ranking employee was walking straight toward the CEO, as if he belonged there. But Marcellus bowed his head respectfully, his voice calm but steady. He addressed CEO Riona in fluent, gentle Japanese, offering assistance with translation if she wished. The sound of his voice speaking her language rippled through the room like a shockwave. The executives froze. Some gasped, others stared with wide eyes, unable to comprehend what they were hearing. CEO Riona's expression transformed instantly. Her eyes widened, her shoulders softened, and for the first time since her arrival, she looked genuinely surprised. She responded to him in Japanese, quietly testing him, and when she heard his accurate, respectful reply, her entire posture changed. It was as though a wall she had been carrying around finally cracked. The executives watched in stunned silence as CEO Riona entrusted the entire briefing to him as her interpreter. Marcellus walked beside her to the meeting hall, his heart racing but his steps steady. Sunlight poured through the tall windows, illuminating the path ahead of them as if marking the beginning of something new. He translated her words flawlessly, terms about market expansion, product innovation, cultural synergy, concepts he had studied long ago but never thought he'd use again. His voice flowed through the room with clarity and confidence, and the employees listened with awe. He wasn't just translating, he was bridging two worlds, breathing energy into the room. People who once ignored him now looked at him like he was someone entirely different. CEO Riona watched him with a thoughtful expression. She saw not a janitor but a man with discipline, knowledge, and humility, someone who had more potential than the company had ever realized. After the meeting ended, applause filled the room, something Marcellus had never expected to experience from this crowd. Some executives apologized for overlooking him. Others praised his skill.